Why would a loving God accept one offering and reject another? Was Cain treated unfairly, or is there something deeper, something that might expose our own hearts today? Because this story is not just about two brothers, it's about two kinds of worship, and only one reaches God. And if you want to understand how this connects to your life today, make sure you subscribe, because we're walking through Genesis step by step, because hidden in this story is a whisper of Jesus, whose blood speaks a better word than Abel's. Genesis 4:1-2. After Adam and Eve left the Garden of Eden, life changed. The ground was cursed. Work became difficult. Humanity began in a broken world. But something else entered that world. Sin. Not just actions, but a condition of the heart. In Genesis 3, humanity chose independence from God. And from that moment, sin didn't just exist around us, it lived within us. And now, in Genesis 4, we see what sin does when it grows unchecked. Two sons are born, Cain, a worker of the ground, Abel, a keeper of sheep. And through them, we witness the first act of worship in human history. Cain and Abel both come to God, both bring something, but God accepts Abel's and rejects Cain's. Why? It wasn't about vegetables versus animals. It was about faith versus self-reliance. Abel brings the firstborn, the best portions. A sacrifice that cost him something. Cain brings an offering. Not the first, not the best one comes in surrender. The other comes in routine. Abel trusts God. Cain approaches God on his own terms, and this connects back to sin, because sin says, I will come to God my way. But true worship says, I come to God his way. Application. We still do this today. We give God what's convenient, what's left over, what doesn't cost us. But God is not looking for performance. He is looking for a surrendered heart. Here's what many people miss. God doesn't reject Cain and walk away. God comes to Cain. He speaks to him. Why are you angry? Why has your face fallen? God is doing something incredible here. He is inviting Cain to reflect and change. Then God says, if you do what is right, will you not be accepted? This means Cain still had a chance. The story was not over. God had not rejected him permanently. God is not closing the door. He is opening it. But then comes the warning. Sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must rule over it. Sin is not just a mistake. It's not just doing something wrong. Sin is a force, a nature, a desire that pulls you away from God. God describes it like a predator, crouching, waiting, ready to take over. How does it start? Not with murder, but with small things. Comparison. Why him and not me? Pride. I did enough. Offense. That's not fair. Anger. I deserve better. Relatable today. Scrolling and comparing your life. Feeling unseen at work. Holding silent resentment. Getting offended easily. Sin always begins quietly before it destroys loudly. And God tells Cain, you must rule over it, meaning you have a choice. You are not powerless. You can stop this. But Cain refuses. He doesn't repent. He doesn't listen. He doesn't humble himself. Instead, he invites Abel into the field, and there he kills his brother. The first sin in the garden was disobedience. The first sin outside the garden is murder. This is how quickly sin grows when unchecked. One wrong heart posture turned into irreversible action. Application. This is why small things matter. Because unchecked anger becomes destruction. Unhealed wounds become cycles. Hidden sin becomes public consequences. God says, Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Abel's blood speaks. It cries for justice, accountability, judgment. Because sin always demands a cost. Nothing evil is ever ignored by God. And this is where everything points to Jesus. In Hebrews 12:24 it says, Jesus' blood speaks a better word than Abel's. Abel's blood cries, justice must be served. But Jesus' blood cries, mercy is available. Abel's blood exposes guilt. Jesus' blood removes it. Abel's blood demands punishment. Jesus' blood offers forgiveness. This is the gospel. You and I, we have all been Cain at some point. But Jesus steps in and gives us what Cain rejected, grace. If this is helping you see the Bible in a new way, take a second to subscribe, because these stories aren't just history, they reveal something about your life today. Cain's choice didn't just affect him, it affected generations. Sin spreads. By the time we reach Genesis 5, a phrase repeats over and over, and he died. Death becomes the pattern of humanity. This is the consequence of sin. But then, something shifts. Another line begins through Seth, and people start to call on the name of the Lord. Even in a broken world, God preserves a way back to him. Before we finish, if you've been following this journey through Genesis, subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next part of this story, Noah and the flood, reveals something even deeper about God's grace. Here's the truth. You don't have to repeat what you've inherited. Cain had a choice, and so do you. Sin may be crouching, but it doesn't have to control you. Through Jesus, the cycle can end with you, because only one kind of worship reaches God, and only one kind of blood truly saves. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Echoes of Scriptures, where every story points back to Jesus.